Hey guys, Bradley from Armor Detail Supply, and today we've got a little bit of a different video for you, polishing. So right now we are in the process of doing a full detail series on this GT4, and we are doing a full episode on polishing the GT4. Now that's going to be a really long video. Lots of me talking, lots of digging deep into what we have to do on this car. Likely going to be over an hour-long video, and I know a lot of people might not tune in for that whole video and could miss a lot of the great tips that we shared in that video. So I wanted to make a quick and easy to follow video here, just going over 5 tips to take your polishing to the next level. Now, disclaimer, this is only going to feature dual action polishing. We're not going to feature the rotary in this video. That can come down the line. Just wanted to be able to share some tips that I don't see often shared on YouTube. Go over basically how you can go from a beginner of polishing and kind of get up into that intermediate and advanced level of working the machine and kind of know-how for your polishing process. This comes from just years of teaching my personal employees how to polish and seeing what shortfalls people will have after just a couple cars and kind of the things that they miss. So this will go over, again, just taking you from that beginner level of polishing just a couple cars and what you'll learn from that to being able to really dial in your edge work and really get the most out of your cut, finish, correction, and just your overall polishing process. So we're gonna hop in right now and get into tip number 1. So tip number 1 is all about pads, and it's not about understanding what pads do what. I'm gonna hope and assume that you understand the difference between fiber-based pads, foam-based pads, open cell, closed cell, and understand what kind of level they work at. So we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into the process and the usability of the pads. So the biggest thing I see when I see people polishing and when I train people to polish, especially our employees, is even though you tell them it may not translate every time, and that is how many polishing pads you really need and how often you need to clean them. So in order to get, you're going to dial in your process on your test panel or your test spot, and that is going to be kind of your gospel, right? That's going to tell you exactly what you need to do to get the results that you want on that car. Now, the problem I see is people will extend their pad use and not use enough pads. And by the time they get halfway through the car or even more, what that test spot was achieving is dropping off, as you get through the car because you're not keeping your pads clean and you're not using enough pads. So the biggest thing is you want to be blowing out your pads or using a pad washer very often. So if you're using a blower, you're going to want to blow out your pads at least every 2 sections, 2 to 3 sections, and that's going to be your kind of 2x2 section area. You can even go crazy and do it every section if you want a really, really fresh pad, and that's actually going to be your best case scenario. If you're using a pad washer, realistically, you're going to want to wash that pad out every panel. If you're not using a pad washer, you just want to completely switch your pad out every panel. So to polish this GT4, pretty small car, there's probably 15 panels on this whole car, maybe less. And these are how many fiber pads I used for my cutting step. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total 5-inch pads, and then I have 4 3-inch pads. For my polishing stage, oh, there goes my pads. For my polishing stage, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 polishing pads and 5 5-inch and 3 3-inch pads. So your polishing pads will go a little bit further than your cutting pads. Your cutting pads, as they get gunked up, your cut is going to severely diminish. So a clean pad is going to get you the most cut, and it's also going to get you the best finish. So if you're having difficulty with your cut and finish, give it a try and swap that pad out or clean that pad out, and it's going to make a lot of difference to get you, again, the best cut and the best possible finish, because as you use these pads, they're breaking down. As they're heating up, the foam is also changing completely. They'll get a lot softer, and that is also going to translate into a different cut and finish. So swapping those pads out, keeping them cool, is going to be your best bet to get, again, the most consistent cut and finish and the best cut and finish over the whole car. So tip number 2 is all about pressure. This is another big mistake I see people making, especially again, when we're training people, when you explain it to them and show them, sometimes it still falls off over time. I see a lot of people just letting the machine do the work, and that can get you a great result, but it's not going to get you the most amount of cut and also the best finish. Believe it or not, a lot of times a little bit more pressure will give you more cut for sure, because you're adding more friction, you're adding more heat to the panel that can then help the abrasive cut and all that. But you'll also get a little bit better finish even sometimes when you have a little bit of pressure. So a good rule of thumb, if you have one, a shipping scale or some sort of weight scale that can go down to roughly 5 pounds pretty accurately, lay your machine on there. And again, this is also going to be very dependent on your machine. So like this machine, when I lay it on by itself, we're at about 3 pounds, which is pretty good. So for your polishing, like your finishing polish, realistically, just having your hand on the machine is totally fine, because right now I'm up to about 7 pounds, which is where I find you really want to be for your finishing polish if you're doing a 2-step correction. Now, if you're going for like a more intensive 1-step correction, where you're not doing compounding, you're trying to get a kind of an all-in-one 1-step, I like to go up to about 10 pounds. So that's going to be putting your hand on the machine and just a slight bit of force as you're working. Usually 10 to 12 pounds. And then for your compounding, your heavy cutting, heavy compounding, I like to get up into like the 15 pound range. So you're putting a decent amount, 15 to 18 pounds, you're putting a decent amount of pressure on that machine. And the other thing people don't consider is right now, that amount of pressure may be, 18 pounds for my compounding, right? Where I'm putting. But as soon as you get into an area that is vertical and not horizontal, now you don't have that machine weight. So you have to make up for that machine weight when you're on a vertical surface. So if you have a shipping scale, if you have a some sort of weight scale that you can use, food scale, whatever, to try this out, it's going to go a long way to show you really where your pressures are at and how much pressure you need to be able to get, again, that best cut, best finish, and just get a super consistent polishing process throughout the whole vehicle. So tip number 3 is all about light sources, but not only light sources, what they do, how to look for swirls, and then also being able to train your eye to know what to actually look for. So a couple things, obviously you want different types of light sources, and ideally ones that can change color temperature. In order to see swirls and scratches in different colors of paint, that light temperature really comes in handy. For darker colors like this jet black, you want a much lighter or bluer tone. So what I have here going is perfect for this jet black finish. And then with these, you can hold the buttons or change the color temperature. Now I'm in a more warmer tone, and this will be great for your silvers, for your whites, and for your lighter color cars. So those color temperatures can really help you see more of the defects by changing the color temperature. And then as well, changing the angle of the light will show you different things, as well as how far away the light source is. So a lot of times when you're looking for just normal swirl marks or haze, about a foot or two away is really what you want to look for. The problem is with these lights being so good, they are very, very bright, and a lot of times when you're this close, they can actually kind of wash out the finish. Especially when you're working on like a lighter color car, like a white or a silver, you may look like this and be like, wow, it looks perfect. But if you take a light, like this one or this one, and you pull it a couple feet back and move it around that way, you'll actually see more of the scratches and the more straight line scratches that way. So again, just the importance of changing light temperatures, changing the angle of the light that you're looking at, as well as how far the light is away, can really show you different things in the paint, whether it's swirls, haze, scratches, and things of that nature. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't notice, and it's something you really do have to train your eye for, is haze. And we have a really great clip that we'll overlay right now showing you what haze is and the before and after of removing that haze. Basically what haze is you know, as your compound or polish breaks down, it's essentially turning large scratches into smaller and smaller and smaller scratches. And if that product doesn't finish down all the way to complete clarity, you're left with a smaller form of a swirl or a scratch. And that will present itself in a haze. And you may look at the finish and go, wow, my swirls and everything are gone. It looks great. But realistically, you still have a very fine swirl and scratch pattern on the finish that if you were to remove, you're going to increase the clarity like tenfold. And the difference between the specular reflection or like, you know, just the light reflection of a finish from having, you know, a little bit of haze to no haze is a giant difference, especially when you step 10 feet back and look at the car. You'll really notice that difference between a perfectly polished vehicle with complete clarity and no haze to one with even just a minute amount of haze. Really makes a big difference. So tip number 4 is all about edge work and what I like to refer as kind of machine edging and scrubbing. So this is all about increasing your efficiency in being able to hit whole panels as much as possible with your larger 5-inch machine, rather than getting out a 1-inch or a 3-inch and going over all of your edges. If you can get the main parts of a panel as well as your edges perfectly dialed with your 5-inch, it just increases your efficiency overall of doing a whole vehicle, multiple vehicles year on end. You're going to save a lot of time. And this is the biggest thing I see people missing, especially when I'm training people, is it's very easy to get someone to be able to polish a hood or a roof, flat panels to dang near perfection. But where they start to struggle and where I see, you know, my guys having to go back again and again and again is your edges and for your edge work. So this tip is really going to help you for the edge work and that sort of deal. So I'm going to work in this section right here and really demonstrate what I'm talking about. So let me just kind of spread my polish around here. And when I say edge work, so you're going to work your normal panel just like you would, right? That's totally fine. I think everyone can be able to get this area fine. Where you're really going to struggle is up in here with your 5-inch pad. A lot of people are going to want to grab their 1-inch and hit that, but you can do it with a 5-inch, no problem. So what you're going to do is when you're polishing, a lot of people will just go right up to the edge like they normally would, like this, and you're going to miss this like whole 1/2 inch. You're going to notice, you're going to go back with your light and say, man, this looks great, but got like a 1/2 inch right here that looks like I didn't even hit it. And that's because realistically you didn't. So to get that top edge, you want to lift and kind of tilt the machine towards the edge a little bit as you're running along. That will concentrate all your correction power and all of the pad power right on that edge as you're going through your section. And then also, in addition to that tilting, you can do what I call scrubbing, which is where I'm scrubbing the machine like this back and forth as I go along that edge. And I'll demonstrate that whole process now. So I'm hitting my normal, you know, panel like I would. And then as I get up to the top, I'm tilting my pad to the edge and I'm rubbing right along that trim and right into this groove. And you can see, like right now, the pad is totally spinning and I'm all up on my edge to be able to get that. And then I can go back down and hit my, you know, the rest of my panel. Because you want to be able to get this whole section in one working section. If you have to go back and do your main section in one and then go back for your, you know, your edges in another, it's just increasing your time you're spending polishing that car. So if you can knock this out in 1/2 and get the whole area, that's where you start to increase your efficiency. And you're just, you know, increasing your cut and finish ratio by being able to do it all at one time.
Now I'm going back, and this will be the last section that I do. I'm getting that edge. I'm scrubbing, as you can see right now. Scrubbing along that trim and getting that. You can see when you're looking down from the top of the machine, you'll be able to see where your edge of your pad is. Getting that edge of the pad right up to that trim edge. And then I'll come back and I'll flatten the pad out a little bit, go a little bit faster just to kind of finish that down.
And there you go. So now you can wipe that off. You can grab your light source and check it. And if you did everything the way perfectly, your edge, right up to the trim will look exactly like the rest of your panel. So last and final tip, tip number 5, goes along and in conjunction with tip number 4, and that is pad tilt. So I know everyone teaches you keep your pad flat, pad flatness is the way, but realistically, if you're trying to increase your efficiency and use a 5-inch machine and get the most amount of work done with that machine without having to pull out your other machine's 3-inch, 1-inch and just waste time, you're going to be tilting your pad. It's a fact. There's curves on the car. Not every panel is a hood or a roof, and I know people love to show you, look at me polishing a hood and a roof, like keep your pad flat. It's so easy, right? They don't show you the hard stuff. Like right here, I've got a dang half pipe going on this panel here. You're never going to get that by keeping your pad flat. So learning to really work the machine and learning what the machine can and can't do is where you just really take your efficiency and your correction to the next level. So we're going to use the scrubbing action as well as pad tilting to be able to knock out what I call the freaking half pipe right here, to get this with a 5-inch machine without ever having to touch a 3-inch. So I'm going to demonstrate first, and then we'll run through the process and show you that just like we did in tip number 4. So right here, if I were to lay this pad and you go, I want to just keep my pad flat, there is nothing getting done here, and you're burning this edge and you're burning this edge. And if you go here, right, you can get a lot of correction done by doing that, and you'll get down here a little bit, and then you can switch and you can go here. Problem is you're still going to end up missing a lot of this section, and you're going to be burning up on this edge as you try to get into here. So tilting the pad can, in all different ways. So I'll go, just like I am right now, but instead of trying to burn this edge by keeping it flat, I'm going to tilt this edge, and I'm going to tilt it into the curve, getting my pad off of this body line here, reducing the chance of it burning. Same here, when I'm up on this edge, I can tilt my pad into that curve to get into here a lot more. And then I can go right down the dang middle, and I can tilt my pad aggressively and get the whole pad. Look, now the pad wants to go into that curve when you tilt it. Now, you want to be careful with this, and you want to do some practice probably on a test panel or something like that, because if you tilt too much, that pad is just going to go flying and you're not going to have fun. So let me demonstrate you that right now as I just go through the process, and you really be able to see how I'm working that machine and tilting that pad to get it to lay and work into a really complex curvature like this.
So I'm tilting up, and you can see right now, like I'm burning that edge. I tilt it, and the whole machine angle changes. It's working so much happier when I have the pad and the machine tilted like this. And then I'll come up and I'll go to the top part, and I'll do the same thing. I'm tilting that pad edge and really getting in that curve. The pad is so happy right now being tilted. If I were to flatten it, I'm getting correction all throughout here and almost nothing here. You can literally see where the pad is stopping by the correction. Right there is where it's stopping. When I tilt my pad and I run it through like this,
look at that. Now you can see where my pad is stopping. My pad is stopping right here where the orbital marks are. So I went from having my pad stop here to having it stop here and getting all that correction just by tilting the pad.
and then I can go even more aggressive, and I can go right down the middle and tilt the pad. So right now I'm right down the middle. I'm tilting the pad very aggressively to get in there. and I'm getting that whole
piece. My pad is going here and here. So I'm getting that whole intersection.
and then you can come through and you can do some, again, scrubbing power. So you can go, just like the edge, you can come in here and you can tilt the pad and I can scrub. So you see how right now I'm scrubbing up and down to really get in there. And then you can come back the other way and I can scrub like this. Pad is still tilted on the edge and I'm scrubbing. So I'm combining those two techniques to really
get in that tight area. And then now you can wipe it off. And again, same with tip number 4. If you did your job right, the area, dang, I just hit my head. If the area you're working, the flat area, you should be able to get the curve and the flat area to look just as good as one another. If you're starting to see that you have swirls in those tight areas still, that means you still got some work to do on working out how that machine is working. Alrighty, so there you guys go. We've ran through all 5 tips that I have for you today. 3 of them being more beginner, intermediate, just kind of standard stuff, just kind of functionality around paint correction. And then the last 2, we're really digging in deep into some, intermediate, advanced level techniques. And that's really going to take your paint correction process to the next level, taking you from just learning to polish on a couple cars to really getting you into that advanced level correction and increasing your efficiency mostly by being able to knock out 90% of the car or more with a 5-inch pad, being super efficient and not being reliant on such a small machine to dig into all your edges. Now, that's not to say only use your 5-inch on the whole car. There's still obviously going to be areas, and use that as your discretion for the 3-inch, because again, safety is at peak of mind. If you don't feel safe using the 5-inch, don't use it. Again, you want to keep the car safe and you want to stay within your comfortability with using a machine. But just wanted to share these tips with you. If there's any other tips that you guys might have for other people, leave them in the comments below. I'm sure they would love to hear all sorts of other tips that you may have to then help their paint correction go to the next level. So now it's time for you guys to really just get out there, give them a try, leave a comment down below what you thought and if this helped you. Have some fun detailing, and I hope this makes your paint correction process faster, easier, and you're just getting much better results.